we're really at, you know, in a generation now that knows nothing about the worst days of AIDS. It's just kind of like history. It's something they hear and they can't grasp it because it's not told in a way that implies how desperate those days were. My name is Bill Hall, and I am a Tlinglit Indian from a small fishing village in Alaska called Huna. It's about 50 miles east of Juneau. And I've been living with HIV and AIDS for 33 years now. The worst I ever had to go through was the last time I was in a psych unit in Reno, and they had a big red biohazard marker on my file. And so I was put in the last room on the end by myself. My door had to be closed all the time. Whenever I was served a meal, the guy would bring it to me, and it would be a paper tray, paper plates, plastic forks, paper cups, and it would all be wrapped in this big red biohazard bag. And the first time I went in, you know, it was going up the way they had set it up, where they had these containers. You just go and you pull the tray out. And so I, you know, was watching other people on the unit do it, so I went up and I started to grab a tray, and I felt his arm yank me back. And he said, "No, you do not touch those trays. Your tray is being brought up." And so he literally told me, "Go sit over there, and your tray will be here, right here." And so, you know, when they set that red thing in front of you with the big biohazard on you, you just wish you could shrink to nothing and disappear. Because everybody, in unison, as soon as they saw that biohazard bag, got up and moved 2 tables away from me. You know, I think you have to develop a purpose. You have to develop, you know, thick skin. You have to develop, you know, an understanding of reality, that even in this day, it still shocks me, but in this day, there still exists people who, you know, will degrade us because we're gay, because we have AIDS. But I was sitting in the doctor's office, and after he wrote the prescription, he looked at me and he said, "What are you doing here?" You know, these questions, these life-altering questions that people ask, they just ask so, like, what are you doing here? Not what are you doing here? You know, so my natural instinct is always to say, "Well, I'm here for a checkup." You know, why are you asking me that question? And he said, "No, what are you doing here in Reno?" And he said, "There are no services for you here." He said, "And you are going to need services. So you need to go where there are services." And he suggested San Francisco at first, but then he said, I've heard so many stories that it sometimes takes people a year before they get a doctor. He said, the only other place I can think of is Seattle. AIDS had taken such a turn, you know, and I think the first time it really hit me was when my social worker at the Madison referred me to Bailey Boucher's adult day program. And back then, you know, you knew if you were sent to the Bailey adult day program that people, you know, that took care of you were thinking you don't have that much longer to live. So they wanted you in a program where the nurses could watch out for you, and, you know, I wasn't even to my 6th year yet, and already I was, you know, being referred to Bailey. And for some reason, we took it as gospel that we only had a few months to live, and so we were acting like we only had a few months to live. I outlived 4 support groups. And they weren't support groups that had like 6 or 7 people in it. These were support groups that had like 25 people in it. And, you know, in the midst of the second support group that, you know, I was outliving, I realized, you know, that as soon as people were sent to Bailey, what they would begin to do is meticulously plan their funeral, their memorial service. They would, every aspect of it, they would plan what songs they wanted, who they wanted to speak, what color they wanted their casket to be, and, you know, they just took elaborate detail in planning every aspect of their memorial service. And so by the time they had it all done and written down, you know, they had nothing left to do but die, and that's just what they did. And so I was sitting in the corner trying to say, stop planning your funeral. Stop planning your memorial service. You're setting your mind up to give up. But, you know, it was that cry in the dark that nobody hears. I think all the groups I'm involved with, and, you know, like I sit on the planning council. I just was voted in as co-chair of the planning council. And I work with Defeat HIV. I work with equity in research to make sure that minorities aren't left out of research, you know, and stuff like that. And I think all that involvement has kind of prepared me for my work in the Native American community. Because I was sitting on the planning council one time, and I got really excited because they decided they had all this extra money, and they decided to give it to a group, an underserved population. And they decided they wanted to focus on Native Americans. You know, there's a disease out there that's killing us. And because it's something we don't talk about, we've attached shame, we've attached judgment, we've attached all of these, you know, names to it that, you know, make the person who's sitting in judgment feel better about themselves. And Seattle Indian Health Board is not only doing HIV testing now, they're doing treatment. You know, we just had our third annual Native American HIV/AIDS Awareness Day. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is what life has prepared me for.